Wherever there is a story, that is where you find us. Where the gist is developing, that is where we cast our net. Where there is a drama, you can trust us to act it out. And where there is news, reporting is our delight. Even on the go, we are ready to track it. At Immaculate Television, we bring you the latest, hottest, and spot-on news as it makes the rounds all over the world. Reporting from the nooks and crannies of both rural and urban communities. Talk of politics, business, sports, entertainment, events, and many more. You can trust us with your airtime and view time because we are binoculate. We are Immaculate Television. ITVS.
Trade words with Makinde over Ibadan explosion, and that's on the front page of Punch newspaper. Good morning and welcome to Newspaper Review on Immaculate Television ITVS, where we check into the dailies to see how many stories we can use and make sense of some of the stories that are not really making so much sense. Of course, today is another day to check into the dailies. Of course, the papers are heavy, if you ask me. Of course, we'll be starting up with the Punch newspaper, and that particular story is of interest. It piques our interest. Of course, I was talking about it with someone yesterday, how that Atiku and Makinde trade words over Ibadan explosion, talking about the situation. Of course, people would say, why would there be a conjunction, if so to say? Why would the governor of Oyo State involve Atiku in this case? Of course, you want to ask that, but I think the same answer would be that PDP is actually the ruling party in Oyo State, and Makinde is also a member of that particular, that was exactly the party that brought him into power in Oyo State. So, of course, we know that Atiku Abubakar is a senior statesman in PDP, so there's a chance for that to come into play, because when you talk about your statesman. Of course, we've seen that Tinubu had talked to Governor Seyi Makinde over this particular situation. Every other person, some concerned members, and even far and yonder were talking about this. They have spoken to Makinde. So he's coming out to say, of course, Atiku has not spoken to me as of yesterday. And what we have in the news today is that it's reported on the Punch newspaper that Atiku trade words with Seyi Makinde over the Ibadan explosion. A very massive national disaster for that matter. Of course, if you want to get more into that story, the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar's media aide, Paul Ibe, said his principal was not silent on the January 16 explosion that killed 5 persons, injured 77, and destroyed 58 houses in the old Bodija area of Ibadan, Oyo State. Of course, it was quite topical how that it was a massive situation, massive destruction of properties and even lives as that. So it was quite a big one that everybody was saying we are expecting everybody to come into this, and send condolences to the governor of the state, helping him in one way or the other. So I think the governor came out to say, I think maybe last week, that Atiku is yet to speak on the matter. And I think now this is a response from Paul Ibe, who is the media aide to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. So it seems like a development from that story. So Ibe was reacting to your state governor Seyi Makinde, who remarked on Monday that Atiku had not reached out or condoled with the government and the people of your state over the tragic incident. Makinde said this in Ibadan when the former governor of Anambra State and the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last general elections, Peter Obi, paid him a condolence visit over the January 16th explosion. That's exactly the conversation. If people that are not even in the party, the ruling party in the state, can come to Ibadan and, send their condolences or even come and show sympathy and empathy to the people that are concerned, especially the governor of the state, it seems like a good one. Now, if it's not coming from the party member who is supposed to be a senior statesman, political senior statesman at that, and someone who is vying for the position of being the president of the country. So I think fairly enough, the governor, Seyi Makinde, has a right to ask for that why won't you join me in this? Why won't you help me out? Why won't you talk to me about this? And of course, in his words, Makinde said he would like to use the opportunity to thank former governor of Anambra State and presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, for the visit. He thanked him because politics didn't seep into the situation. He came here to commiserate with us over the explosion. Actually, the investigation is still going on. It was simply illegal miners storing explosives in an environment where they shouldn't be. I went on to say that it is a place where that is meant for people to live in. It's not a mining site. Of course, we know about this development. ITVS, Immaculate Television, has brought you this in our previous bulletins and newscasts that of course the situation was actually caused by illegal miners storing explosives, of course the IEDs or perhaps dynamite in a particular location in Ibadan, Bodija particularly. But reacting, Ibe said Atiku had condoled with your people over the incident. Ibe is the media aide of Atiku, so he's responding to that as well. Atiku has blamed his defeat meanwhile, he has blamed the defeat in the 2023 presidential election on the refusal of Makinde and four other PDP governors to support his ambition. I think that's exactly now the narrative. The story is about Atiku trying to pay back on what he feels or he felt the governor of the state, Makinde, had done. So he's saying that you did not do some things, you had a refusal to do some things to support my ambition when I was vying for the presidency in Nigeria. So Makinde and the other PDP governors who call themselves G5 governors supported President Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the February 25, 2023 presidential election. Another, development into that story. Meanwhile, Obi, during his visit to Ibadan, said though the governor that they want to extend their condolences to the bereaved families and to all those who lost their valuable property in the incident, and to assure them of their prayers that God will grant those who lost their lives and eternal rest and all of that. He went on to speak on the economic situation of the country and its effect on the masses. Obi called for a cut in the cost of governance, like we've been saying, at the federal level as a necessary sacrifice to move the country forward, which seems like a better option for Nigeria now. If we would move away from this slum, from this abysmal situation, we need to cut the cost of governance, and that's what we are talking about. That's the conversation we need to be having as of now. So yes, he went on to say that it is a matter of sacrifice today. Elections are over. Governance is the key thing, and what is required for him is to cut down the cost of governance, especially at the federal level. It is unacceptable the way it is going. We need to prioritize critical areas such as education, health, and pulling people out of poverty, according to him. And all of this development into this story seems like something you would like to get. You want to get more on that, check the Punch newspaper today. Away from that story as well, there are so many other stories. Tinubu's indifference to restructuring, that's coming from the Punch newspaper again this morning. Culture making Africans intolerant of blessings for same-sex couples, that's coming from the Pope. And recently it's been a topic how that we've seen people across the states bringing out placards to say we would not agree to this. We cannot allow same-sex marriage in Nigeria. We don't want this to happen in this country. We have morals, we have values, we have African morals and values and traditions, norms, customs that we follow, and we would not want you to take away that. We would not compromise on the standards of the African society. That seems like the story now that Nigerians and every other country in Africa are saying. We don't want to follow the Western world to do evil. Like they say, don't join the multitude to do evil. That's exactly what people are clamoring for at the moment. Away from that story as well, Army rescues 35 kidnapped victims in Katsina. A good one, a very good development into that. You would understand, of course, recently there's been an abysmal case of kidnappings, of all of that, insecurity in the country. And it seems like a development now. The security apparatus in the country, the security architecture is being enforced now. People are striving to make things better, and we seem to have a way to move on in this particular situation. Now, away from the Punch newspaper totally, now to Daily Trust newspaper. This morning we have ECOWAS crisis, Nigeria at receiving end. Of course, this is also a development into the ECOWAS situation that is currently happening. Naira plunges to 1,500 per dollar at parallel markets. It seems like a bad one coming from the world of economics in Nigeria now. A naira, or particularly a dollar, is sold for 1,500 US dollars. Not a good one, I assure you. UK suspends British Nigerian minister for calling Israel's action genocide. Also on the foreign scene, that story is a story to check on Daily Trust newspaper if you want to get more on that story. Supreme Court, Kano governor denies striking deal with Tinubu. That's also coming from Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And about the ECOWAS crisis, talking about Nigeria being at receiving end of that, citizens will require visas to travel across exiting countries. Terrorists might up their game. That's coming from security expert. We would be poor. That's coming from Dons, also on page 4 of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Away from that story now, Union Polaris Keystone Bank's investors contest take over. Say CBN's action in breach of own rules. Petition President Tinubu, Apex Bank silent on accusations. All of these stories and many more on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Away from Daily Trust now to Blueprint, let's see what we have on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. Dominant operatives kill 30 bandits, rescue 4 abductees. Seems like a good one, like we've been reporting. Katsina, Abuja residents celebrate hail development. We are hailing it to that story. Away from that newspaper now to the Nation newspaper, very quickly we have on the front page really boldly written on the screen now is security men raise bar in battle against kidnappers, and that's talking about the rescued victims recently, about 40 something, 40 plus rescued currently, and it's like a good one in Katsina State and also in Abuja. It's like a development. It's like our security operatives are upping their games, which we expect in recent times, and even much more we need to do better because we can actually do better. We have the capacity, we have the apparatus, we have the requisite ability and capability to really perform well security wise, and we hope we'll get that done in no time. Sign attendance register daily. Governor orders council chairman. It seems like we have ghost workers as well, even at that level. But yes, also a very funny one. A slide from that story. Russia behind Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, ECOWAS, squid threat. Also, Yahaya Bello to replace Ganduje, posters flood Abuja. Insecurity, state police call gets louder. Also, a story to check on the Nation newspaper on page 13 of this particular newspaper. Away from that story now, CBN injects 500 million US dollars into forex market. Seems like a good one, except if we wait for the development and see how it unfolds, if it makes sense eventually, if the forex policy is still going to help the naira, gain some muscles. Like the naira has been devaluated to a point that it is now prostrating to a dollar, and it's not a good one. Ibadan blasts Makinde lashes Atiku. That's also a story to track on the Nation newspaper. Away from the Nation now to Leadership newspaper this morning. CBN warns forex traders against misreporting transactions. Also, away from that, AFCON. Pesero warns Eagles against complacency. Seems like a wake-up call, a revival call for the Super Eagles not to sleep. Like we say, don't sleep on it. Wake up, collect your money, whatever the case is. But yes, we're expecting that the Super Eagles of Nigeria will come out strong against their opponent, Angola. And of course, every Nigerian is ready to watch that game. Every Nigerian is ready to support the Super Eagles like we've been doing. And it seems like we are going for the AFCON. Let's do it again. Super Eagles. Away from that story now, going into the Supreme Court verdict, no deal with presidency. Kano State Governor is saying that. You want to catch one on that story, check page 17 of the Leadership newspaper. Shettima seeks help on job creation, food security. That's coming from the Vice President of this country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Kashim Shettima is trying to do something on food security. We hope it gets it done and as soon as possible in a record time. Away from that now, tenure limit. Bank insurance chiefs dodge regulatory acts. That's on page 4 of this particular Leadership newspaper. Away from Leadership totally now to Daily Sun. Students abroad grown as FX rate rises to 1,420 naira to $1, and it seems a basket case for the people that are studying across and abroad. Of course, we know pound sterling rate is 1,775. Hey, that's a lot too. Hey, anyway, CBN releases additional 500 million US dollars to settle FX liabilities. NAF jets Kills kidnap syndicate in Kaduna. That's on page 4 of Daily Sun newspaper. Edo gubernatorial election. PDP screens Shuaibu Ighodalo and others. Away from that now, I respect painstaking process in picking the Sun Awards. That coming from the choir First Lady. Also away from that now, we have some other stories. Court shifts Kanu's 50 million naira suit against federal government to April 27 of the same year. We expect that to come earnestly. And away from that now to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian reports quite beautifully. If you are seeing on your screen or you've gotten your hand on any of the Guardian newspaper this morning, you see how that businesses shop for alternatives, advocate, incentivize recycling. Seems like a picture of plastic, but you know, placed right there. And talking about plastic waste, we need to talk about this as well, because right now we know the rate of plastic pollution everywhere, not just in Nigeria, is alarming, and we need to do something about it, even in our country, Nigeria, and we hope to do it. 2,423 people killed, 1,872 kidnapped in 8 months under Tinubu. That's like a shocking one for this current administration, the incumbent presidency in this country. Nigeria, Ghana lead West Africa's identity fraud case. A bad one. A bad one. It's taunting the image of Nigerians, because sometimes it's very hard to talk to your counterpart, especially if they are not from Nigeria, your white counterparts that you are supposed to do a business, a legal, legit business together. They have a premonition that you still mess them up, and it's sometimes it's given, because you never can blame them. They've gone through a lot of things where Nigerians have, soiled the face of this country by, because of greed, because of trying to get money that does not belong to, that they have not worked for. And we hope that that should not continue. And we expect that, yes, we would get more into that. Away from that now, into some other stories. Ogun, that's coming from Ogun State, from rising industrial hub to den of cultists and criminals. A sad one for the people of Ogun. EFCC arraigned impeached Ogun speaker over alleged 2.5 billion naira fraud. Our money supply grows by 50% in 12 months, compound in inflation. Also from the Guardian newspaper. And to take a bow this morning, I'll check into the Punch newspaper to wrap up. Over 17,000 Nigerians abducted under Buhari, and that's coming from a report. And Tinubu, the two of them, of course, the APC people, we have just that to consider. Buhari, 90%. Tinubu 10%. How abductors kill 2 Ekiti monarchs, and that's coming from a particular source. Away from that, let's check. Federal government, United States, signed MOU, as Memorandum of Understanding, to train police special squad commanders. And that's also on page 26 of the Punch newspaper. You want to get more into that story, check Punch on page 26. Away from that, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger exits may weaken 277 billion US dollars ECOWAS trade. That's coming from a report also on page 26 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Of course, it's been a wonderful time. Today is the 30th of January 2024, and this is Immaculate Television. Thank you for joining us. It's been a wonderful time with you Nigerians, and people that are not Nigerians that are watching. Thank you for watching and staying tuned. This is Immaculate Television, and you have just watched newspaper review with myself, Anoluwapo Idowu. And on behalf of the entire crew, we say thank you for joining us. Do stay tuned. We have subsequent programs coming your way, but just in a moment, stay with us. Don't go nowhere.
Wherever, whenever there is a story, that is where you find us. Where the gist is developing, that is where we cast our net. Where there is a drama, you can trust us to act it out. And where there is news, reporting is our delight. Even on the go, we are ready to track it. At Immaculate Television, we bring you the latest, hottest, and spot-on news as it makes the rounds all over the world. Reporting from the nooks and crannies of both rural and urban communities. Talk of politics, business, sports, entertainment, events, and many more. You can trust us with your airtime and view time because we are Binoculate. We are